Okay, all right, thank you for that confirmation. I hope the other guys are also able to see my screen. All right, so we had mentioned that in today's session we'll be looking at how a user is able to contact you as the administrator. So there is the form that they will be using to send you emails, and we are also going to see how to do basic authentication to our web application. We may want to secure some of the application's resources so that they are only accessible to those who are logged in. So we are going to see how to do that. So mainly today, for now, we are going to start working on the contact us page, which gives us a contact us form or a contact form, which the user, your website visitors, will use to contact you. Right? So we are going to see how to achieve that. And besides, or rather, the concept that we are going to consume, the one that will be used to send this message, it may not necessarily be used on forms only. It's something that sorry, yes, Mike. Okay, all right. So I was saying that whichever concept that we are going to run here, the one that will be used to send this email, it's a concept that you'll be able to use on other areas, and we are going to see where else you can use that. And that is especially in authenticating a user, maybe probably confirming or other two-factor authentication or something like that. So it's not only used in such contact forms, it can be used anywhere else within your application. All right, so we are going to see how to do that. And remember, we already talked about how you can fetch the values here. So the only thing that will probably be new to you is how now to fetch this data, or rather to pick up the data that has been fetched and have them sent to the admin the admin email that you will have set. Right? So the first thing, let us first of all be able to fetch this data the same way we have been doing. If I just click on send, of course it has been there are some validators here that are ensuring that you are not supposed to send an empty form. All right, but we are going to disconnect it from this, because initially I think the intention was to send this email using a PHP script, but we are not going to be using PHP. So okay, so let me check for contact.html. right? So if we check on that form, it's somewhere here. Okay, where is that form? All right, so the form is here. And all right, so let me first of all remove this ID. I'm not so sure, but it could be the one, and this no validate element here. It could be the one that has been used to connect it to. There is a PHP script somewhere. Let me see. It was here, so it's in here. So we are not going to use this, right? And it's not actually playing any role here, so you can as well delete it. Anyway, so let's see how our form behaves if we remove the IDs and all that. Okay, all right. So the current validation is the one that happens with the help of these required tags, right? All right. So we need to have the view. There is the view that give us that contact us page. So that is where we are going to process our data. So we are going to use the post method to post, or rather to correct this information, right? So we first of all check if it's a post method. All right, if request.method is equals to post, then we are going to sorry somebody. Okay, all right, Mike. So we are going to first correct the name, right? So let's have the name there. Then the next thing will be email. All right, then we also have the subject. All right, then the other thing will be the message. All right, so something we said about these names, they should be the same names that have been passed here. Let me just do this. For instance, for the name, so this is the input that should give us the name. So if you check, there is no name attribute given here, so you need to check that, or rather you need to add that. So let me have name is equals to name. All right, don't forget that. Then for the email, so basically this form was using the IDs to fetch the information that the user fills in. So we need to pass in a name attribute. So in here we have the email. I hope we are all able to submit a form, given that you can also create your own form, key in all the required attributes, and fetch that data and submit it to either your view for further processing, or even to saving it to your database. Right? So I think we shouldn't have that as a challenge. Then the name for this one, we have name is equals to message. All right, so we have that. So let's save. All right, so that is the meaning of so basically it's not actually these names, but what we should be checking on is so we have, okay, so let me have that. So we can do it simultaneously on all areas. So we say that press the cursor on in the first position, then hold Alt, press it in all other areas. All right, so I'll put a space equals, then I'll talk of request dot post and have that. All right, and also pass in that. So actually it's not about these variable names, but whatever you have in these quotes. So in here we have the name, the email, the subject, finally we have the message. All right, so these are the names that matters. Well, you may have different names or variable names given here, but for consistency you can simply use what you have here. All right, okay, all right. So this is the view that is supposed to give us that data, but remember, a view cannot work without a URL unless it's a view adding some functionality to another view within this views.py or any other file. But for the processing of this data, we need to connect it with a URL. So for now, we'll just be printing this data. Let me see. Let me print name, email, we have subject, and finally we have message. Right, so another thing we need to connect is a URL that will help us process this. So we come to URLs, maybe I can just duplicate okay, we already have a URL in place, that is the contact URL, this one, so we don't need to create another one. I had already forgotten that we are already working with a view that was previously working. All right, so let's now check on what we need to adjust in the contact.html. So there are some things that we mentioned. So for the form to work, if at all you are not using JS, you need to pass in some mandatory attributes in here. One of them is the method. So for this case, we said we are using post, right? And for the action, there is something that we mentioned, that if the processing of this data is being done within the view that is being used to render this particular template, then you can simply have a hashtag. Alternatively, remember we used, you can pass in URL, then pass in the URL that is responsible to process that data. I hope we all remember that. All right, so let me save. Then before I save, we also mentioned that we need to pass in a CSRF token, right? You shouldn't forget that. Then also confirm that you have a button in place and it's ready to submit that form. All right, so with that in place, let me reload in here. Let me call myself done at Gmail. Then the subject, for the subject you need to have test message testing. All right, let's do the test and see. All right, so kind of reloads. Let's come here, see if there was any data wrote on our terminal, on our console rather. So this is the data that we inputted on our form. All right, so at this stage we are able to fetch the data from our template. All right, so we won't be working with the console. We expect to have that message delivered to our email inbox. All right, so we need to now capture this information and send that as an email. All right, so how do we do that? So in this section we are going to see how to send an email, and it will be sending this data as we have seen here. All right, so what we need to do, there are some lines of code that we need to add to our settings.py file. So remember we said that the settings.py file houses the global settings of our application. So I want to paste in some lines of code here that we are going to be using. So let me check on that. So that we can see what is required of us. Just a moment. All right, so this is what we have, and I think that will be sufficient. Okay, just a moment, hold on a retro. Okay, all right, so all right, okay, all right, so this is what we have. So these are the global settings for emails to work on your Django application. You may have some other set of settings. Okay, sure, Mike. All right, so okay, let me explain so that you know what you might need to change on your end. So that is it. All right, so what happens is that we have this email backend. We have quite a number of options that you can use. So I've been working with this particular one. It works like magic. Then for the email host, so there are just three lines that you need to use your own, or they are custom. So okay, all right, so these three, and I just decided to have them here. They are currently working, but probably after the session I will be changing the password. So basically the email host, this is the host on which your emails are working. One, for you to be able to send emails from on a Django application, or I believe in any other application, one, you need to have a working email. All right, and our email, we have the username here. All right, and we have its password. Then this email and password, they are hosted somewhere. So that is the host that you need to input here. So I think you can check. I'm not so sure if Google gives such a platform for you to be able to send emails. Just check if you are able to get these three, and if they have a fourth line that you need to tag along, then be sure to do that. So if you don't have an email hosting of your own that you can use, then for the default from email, we may not need to set that for now. Then we have the email ports. For those who have done a little bit of networking, you need to appreciate the functions of different ports, right? So for these particular settings or for sending emails in Django, this is the port that has proven to work on this server. So again, it will depend with the server that you are working with. This might be different. Again, in here we are also using email use TLS. We have set it to false. So these are basically the blocks of code that you need to have, but again, ensure that you have these three in place. So these are not, we don't say like they are universal, like you when you always use them, they will always work. These are personal details, so at some point they may fail to work. So you need to have your own you need to have your own email password and the email hosting. All right, so the next thing, we are done with the global settings. So the next thing is now to pick up this information and now send it as an email. All right, so we need to do some adjustments here. Let me see. All right, so let us just proceed. We will see where to do those adjustments. Okay, all right, so let me see. All right, let's consult the documentation a retro. Let's see what the documentation has for us. So basically, if I change the password and you had probably configured it on your end, then of course it will stop working because the authentication. What happens is when sending the an email, you or the user who is using your website, that is, if it's on this template or anywhere your emails are working on your web application, it will try authenticating using these credentials. All right, so if they are not correct, then the emails will not work. So that's why I mentioned you may need to have your credentials in here. All right, but everything else will remain constant. So it's all about, should credentials change, you just update them here. All right, okay, I hope that's clear, Nimrod. Okay, all right, so so I wanted us to, okay, we were consulting the documentation a retro here to see what is required of us. All right, and it's very straightforward. We have it here. So we are going to use as it is here, send mail, or rather from, let's do that importation. Right, then let's come in here, just copy everything. All right, something we need to acknowledge is that there may be some errors that are related to sending the email. So we will do the try except. So we will paste in that. Okay, this doesn't look so good. Let me push it in there. Right, then I will do except here, and I will catch exceptionals. Let me see, as E. Not necessary, but we are just trying to press safe. Then I'm not sure if we have imported messages here, right? Then we can talk of messages.error. Then we pass in a request here, and then pass in the message, right? So we can talk of that so that we capture the message and say an error occurred, or any message that you may want to pass in to the user. and your email failed. Let me just put it simple, then pass in that and pass in the error that way. All right, so this is where we need to do most of the modifications, because we see that we have a number of fields that we need to update. So the first one is the subject, so just pass in the subject as it is. All right, so this is the subject that we have, so just pass it in there. Then here is the message. So for the message we have it here, but we are going to be adjusting it shortly. All right, then from email, so this is the sender of the email, and because this form is being sent from our website, so the sender should be the email of your website user, not your admin email. Right, so from email we replace this with the email that we have here. Right, then again we have two, who should receive that email. Then in here you need to input your email. All right, the administrator email that is meant to receive that email. So in this case, let me just input my company email here. Right, so okay, all right, needs to be under those quotes, and then we set fail silent to be false, should make noise should it decide to fail, and I believe everything else looks good. All right, so let's see how this one works. All right, so we may want to do something. Let me see what we need to do. All right, so let me try to pass in some message here. Should actually be messages, not message. It's being imported from. All right, so I also need to check with the documentation. I'm not sure if here they are passing messages dot. Okay, all right, so let me see. Django messages. It has consulted the documentation a retro. We need to inform the user if the message has been sent from Django. Whoa, okay, all right, I think this one looks good. Let me copy that, then have it somewhere here. Then I'll be okay. All right, message dot info, or let me use success. Do you have success? Then we do a request here, and we'll be talking of your email has been sent successfully. All right, then let me see if it's necessary to pass in this. All right, okay. All right, so the other thing is to ensure that that message is visible to the user. That is, once that email has been submitted, we want to show the user that message. Again, we are working also on ensuring that we improve on the user experience. So maybe the message, let me see if the message can appear here. So the first thing we need to do is to check if there is a message. So we just have if. That's enough. We don't need an else statement. So if we talk of if messages, all right, then we need to, let me show you. So if messages, then they should be displayed here. All right, in here we can talk of for, let's do a for loop. Right, so we are checking for message in messages, then Okay, so in here I can just have a paragraph and pass in the message. So in case there are multiple messages, we are going to see them there. All right, let's see how this one works. I'm hoping it's gonna work in our favor. Okay, all right, so let me do this. All right, so let me have man wants to send an email. What is the man's email? Right, testing. Man is testing. All right, so let's see how this one goes. All right, your email has been sent successfully. I need to check that. Okay, I need to check that. Which one did I set as? Okay, all right, so let me see shortly. Let me just confirm that. All right, just hold on as I do a quick check here to confirm if that email has been sent or otherwise. And again, I think there is something that I just forgot, but let me just check on the email, then we are going to have a brief discussion about it, because it's something you also need to know. Right, so this is the email here, right? So we are told that man is testing, and we see the email is from man, and the email was sent to us, and it was sent in today, right? And that's the message. So in here you can happily reply to this email, and we see it's gonna go to the sender's email. All right, so there are some scenarios that you may encounter whereby instead of having the sender email being displayed here, it will show your email. All right, so you get emails from your website, not just a test email like this, but emails that are meant to be probably converted to business. But then you do not have the sender's email. You have your own email as from, and also in the to field. So how do you handle that? Because you may have such scenarios. So to just be safe with this message, like you need to embed probably the name. Okay, we actually didn't use this name here. We only used the subject, the message, and the email. Right, so we at least also need to know the name of this user. So what we need to do is that we need to enrich this message with some more content. Right, so let me pass in that and talk of okay, so pass in that, and I'll be talking of I can pass in name in here and have that. Then we have that. So if we escape that, then it should give us a new line. Then we pick the email, we pick that user email, pass it in here, right? Then you can do that, then talk about the message here. So maybe I can rename this one to message instance, no harm, instance, message instance. Right, so our new message has the name, the email, and the message that was posted by the user. So even when we are replying to that email, at least we are able to tell the name of this client who engaged us. All right, so let's try that as well. Let's see how that one goes. Let me just reload here. So let me talk of done. Use my email, use my testing business. I want business. All right, so let me send. Okay, email sent successfully. I want to get that email here, and here we go. So should that thing happen whereby your admin email is in both fields, then at least you will have the email of the sender here, and you can always reach out to them. All right. Okay. Again, this is not the best. This is not the best way to display it, but for the front end, you can work on that from your end and ensure that it looks good anyway. Maybe the other option could be redirecting this user to another page showing them that the email has successfully been sent. So it's for you to decide how you would want that to work. All right, are we together up to that point, guys? All right, so something else, let's move on if there is no question. So we now want to work with we now want to do some authentication. We want to be able to authenticate users on our website, and as Hezron had requested that we can try to see how to incorporate extra fields. Remember, let me just take you through a little bit of what Django has in line with authentication. Let me just log in here. Remember, authentication started from when you created a super user, right? So you basically created credentials that are being used to log into the backend. All right, so these are the authentication tables. We have groups and we have users. So groups, for instance, you have a company of say 100 people, and think of this particular website we are working on being a website for a company. It has 100 people. You probably have you want to give different privileges to different users. So there are people you would want to only be able to see the courses and deny them the rights to edit. Others you want to give them the rights to edit but not to delete. You want others to be able to do what? To add new courses or new subjects, but not able to do anything else. So all those you define them in the groups. All right. So you do that definition here. Let me just do a quick demo. Add group. Then maybe you can talk of subject editors. All right. Then in here you choose the permissions. So we only want them to be able to, let me see, to we want subject is a category. Where are the subjects? Let us see what we have here. All right, so this is what we have for the subject. So let's only give this person the right to add and view. All right, so what you do, you push in those two permissions in here, then save. All right, so we created that as a group. Then in here from the admin you are able to easily create a new user to view the existing users and to to delete them. So in here maybe I can just add a new user. Let me call him man. I'm not sure if a very simple password will work here. Save. Oh no, all right, that's too short. All right, so let me see. Okay, it works. So these are basically the fields that we do have in Django for authentication. We have the username, the password, first name, last name, email. Those are the very basic fields that we have. So all these others are some of them are populated automatically, maybe the login time, the date you joined, but we also have these permissions here. So immediately you create a user from the front end and you do not give them special privileges. Only this one will be checked. All right. So this active being checked only illustrates that this account is active and this user can be able to log into the account if at all they remember the login details. Right. If you want them to be able to log into the admin interface, then you need to give them this permission. Again, if you want them to be super users, just like the very first account that you created, then this is the field that you need to check. All right, so because we want to make these man staff so that they are able to access this, right? Let us check that. Then we have available groups. Let me ensure that I set him to be in that group of subject editors. Then I should just come here and save. So let me just save and continue editing. Then let me open an incognito window here. Do this. All right. So I have man. Let me import man's password. All right. Okay. All right. Let me try again. All right, that works. So basically these those credentials were only able to go past that because we set this stuff to be true. Otherwise, for some reason, if we deny them staff rights and check that, save and continue editing, come here and reload, that person will be thrown out of our dashboard. So for them to be able to access that, you need to give them these rights. Staff status set, continue. All right, so let me log in and see what this man has. Let us see what privileges they have. So for now, we said they are able to view the subjects and they can be able to add a subject. All right, so let's view. Let's try to edit, see if we are able. See, we are not able to edit because we added this user in a group and just gave, I think, only 2 permissions. If we may want to probably adjust that, let me do that. Edit subject, edit that group. So in here, let me add him or add this user another permission. Can change course. We are working with subjects, so I need to check on where we have subjects. Okay, all right, where are subjects? So these are okay. So we have here. So let's see. Let's add candidate subjects. Add there and save. Just save. Come back here. Reload. Right. Sorry. What did I add? I think what did I add? Did I add candidate? I think I added candidate subject. So that's why this button appeared. So once you are able to get this page, you can try playing around with these permissions and see what they mean. All right, then another thing, if you don't want to work with groups, you can decide to give them one permission after the other. For instance, let me get them out of that group. All right, maybe we want them to be able to add user. Remember, if we check currently, this user doesn't have a visibility on the user's model. But here we can decide to give them permission to add new users. Click on that. So in here we are giving them one permission after the other. We are not talking about groups. We are now in user permissions. All right. So this would only work well if you don't have a number of users, maybe 1 or 2. But if you have groups of users, it is recommended that you work with groups. All right. So I think I gave him privilege to be able to add users. Reload. Right, so we see since we removed this user from the group that had visibility on the subject, that's why the subject's model is no longer visible. But here we are able to see users, and again we have denied them permission to view users. You see this is not active, but the add button is active. All right, but your user doesn't have the change user permission. In order to add users, Django requires that your user account have both add user and change user, I believe. So there are those privileges that have to work hand in hand. So I believe you have seen how to work what is already in place. So we are going to advance on this. So we want to be able to register a user, and in here we want to see how you can get more than one piece of information. All right. So all right, so let us just start by first fetching the very basic information that we have here in place, so that should you not need any other extra information such as phone number, maybe the where you live, the location, your salary expectation and all that, then you can work with it with the basic one. Then we are going to move to that stage where we correct extra data, extra information. All right, so I'll be adding some templates here. So let's see. Okay, all right, so okay, all right, so in here I need to add in some templates that I'll be populating with some data. So in here let me add login.html. Then again I also need register.html. Which other do I need? All right, so then in here in the URLs I need all those. I need that, I need that, I need that. All right, so for now let me comment that as well. So this one, let me create a URL for logging in, right? So let me just have login. Then in here let me have register. So remember, I hope at this stage we are able to quickly connect that. If you need to do something, that thing should be addressed in a view and connected using a URL, right? So we have register here, right? And finally we have logout. Logout. All right, so we have the URLs in place. So the next thing that we need to create, we need to create the views. So we need to define login. We can just pass. So then we define register. Sorry. All right, so we are gonna have request. We have request. Then let's define logout. Request. Then again we pass. So that's enough for now. All right, so the next thing that we need to focus on or to check, I'll be providing in some templates here, because I should actually not just talk of pass. I should be talking about return should be login.html. Then these as well should be register. We have register, right? Then in here we have logout. Okay, we actually don't have the logout, so let's pass that. All right, so I want to provide to provide us with logging and register. So let me fetch that on this other end and share it with you. Let me fetch that and see how it goes. Let me fetch that. Okay, I have that as well. So this is let me see, login. All right, so let me try to log in here. Let me try to have login. Okay, perfect. Then the other thing should be register. Register. Let's see if we are able to get it right. Okay, perfect. My form doesn't look so good, so these are basically what do you call them, bootstrap forms. So we are going to work with them as they are for now. All right, so the next thing that we need to have, okay, right, okay, all right. So we'll be working with these forms, so they are not the best for now, but let us get the backend concept. Okay, all right. So what we need to do is that we should now be in a position, if you just look at a form, you should quickly figure out how you can fetch this data here. All right, so for now we are going to suspend some of the fields, because as I mentioned that we will be working with some basic fields here. We are not going to make it complicated. So for now I'll be removing phone, gender, and I think just that for now. So let me see phone, so I'll comment out this. Where's the gender? Should actually do this. First name, username, email. Okay, I think this is enough to start with. Then all right, so let us see how we can be able to fetch this information here. All right, so all we need to do is to move to the views, and we want to register a user. All right, so first name, and this is how we are going to call it. So basically this is how it's called from what do we call it, from Django admin. So this user model, let me see, I'm not sure if we have visibility on that. Okay, not that. I want to view an existing user, username, password. Okay, all right, so for now I think on this view they have adjusted how the name looks like, but when saving it, this is its name. All right, so in here we have so before we do that, we need to check if this is a post method. We need to submit that as a post request. So let's have if request dot method is equals to post. Then what we need to have is the first name here. So we have request dot post. Then let's have this. And let me just tell you something, guys, that you might come across, which still works the same. I'll do it in form of a comment. So we have first name. You can fetch it by passing request.post.get. Then I believe get, I'm not so sure, but this should be the case. So this one you may come across this, but given that we have request.post and the rest, then should work. And I think we can do a test here, because we have been working with this, and I'm pretty sure you may come across this and you start wondering where you're getting it wrong. Nothing wrong with this. All right, maybe one of the fields we can set up using this method and see how it goes. All right, so the next thing that we need to check on is the username. So the username, that's the name, right? So let me have that. Okay, there is a dot. So we have the username here. All right, so the other thing we need to fetch is the email and password, right? So we have the email. Okay, all right. So let's have email, then let's have password. All right, password. So we have password 1, password, and we can have password 2, right? Just to ensure that the user enters or confirms the password so that they don't miss it out. All right, so let me use this one here so that we see if we are going to get the same thing. All right. All right, so we want to get these pieces of information, and we need to prepare our form to be able to take that up. So let me check on the register. So in here one thing we need to confirm. Okay, basically everything is in place, but let us appreciate what we have. One, you must set up the method here, should be post, pass in the CSRF token, never forget that. Then for the first name, ensure that this name attribute has the first name as the value. Then you have the username as the value here. The name for the email should be email. Then again for password should be password. Then to confirm password we can have okay, all right, we already have password too, and the submit button. So everything looks good here. What we are missing out is just the action, which again we said if it's to be processed through the same view that rendered that page, you may leave it out or have it and just pass in a hashtag. All right, but this one should be post. All right, I do prefer having it in lowercase, but no harm. All right, so once we have this, then what we need to pass in, something. Okay, before I even continue, we need to consult our documentation a little bit here. Django authentication. So basically what we have done is we are using a custom way of authentication. We already have a default way of consuming the authentication URLs, and I think you might see it somewhere. Let me see. Using Django authentication system. All right, okay, so for now we are going, let us just discuss what we are working on, but just know that there is a default way of authentication with the different URLs. So I think it's usually the IP or domain name. I think here we have accounts or something, right? So let us work with this, see how. Okay, all right, so let us work with this that I introduced, see how it works. All right, so okay, so let me import this for now. All right, so what I have, I need to have that here, and I think we also have auth. Do we have auth? Not sure. Okay, not sure, but let it just remain there. All right, so in register, so there are so many things that you need to check here. One of it being maybe you may want to ensure that the password meets the recommended password complexity. So like you saw when we were trying to create a user in the admin page, we were not able to create a weak password, but in here you will be able to do that. So it's for you as the developer to ensure that you do all those checks. Otherwise you'll be having a very weak system where users are able to set maybe a 2-character password, 3-character password, which again is not the best practice. All right, so for now we will not be doing all those checks. We will make it a little bit easy to consume, but just know that you can do that either here. I think we have, do we call them rejects? I think there is a topic in regex whereby you can pass in some characters to check if it has, say, lowercase, uppercase, characters, numbers, you know, we have that concept. So you can do that here or do it in the front end. You can write in some JavaScript lines to check for that. All right, let's keep it simple here. So we are going, the first check that we need to do is to check if these two passwords match, because the intention of introducing the second input was to ensure that you are just ensuring that this user is aware of what they are typing in. So the first check should be to check if password is equals to password 2. All right, if that's the case, then we can proceed. So once you confirm that the passwords are the same, what do? You now check if the user exists, because we do not want to have two users with the same username. It's a crime to have that. So just check, and the way to check if this username exists, this is how to do it. So we are going to talk of if user. Remember, there is the user that we just imported here some minutes ago, right? So if user, so a user is a model, just like we have been talking about subjects dot objects.or, you know, to get or. So in here we are going to talk of user dot objects dot, we want to filter, right? And we want to filter by the username is equals to username. So we want to check if this one exists, and the way to do that is it, have those brackets. Then so if user exists, then you need to tell this user or to return some message, because we can't proceed processing this user. Like we can proceed and save this user because another user with a similar username exists. So let us just do messages dot, I'm not sure if, I think should it be a warning? Anyway, let's do that. We are warning them that that username is taken, username taken, right? And then just return our template here. All right, so by doing that, the code does not proceed to other checks, right? So we checked if the user exists. So if they exist, then do this, tell them that that user exists and return the same template. Else, so we are going to talk of elif, right? So we want to check if this email exists. Again, we do not want to save two users with similar emails. So to ensure that that does not happen, we check if you or okay, so we are using an if else statement, right? So if, that is users dot objects dot filter, we want to filter, and we want to filter by emails, email. So we want to check dot exist. All right, so I'm just going to copy and paste what we have here, right? So in here we'll talk of email taken. We don't want to save two users with similar email taken. So if these two okay, we basically have three checks, so if all of them pass, then we proceed and save the user. So the way to save the user, you can talk of user in lowercase, then we have user in uppercase, and we will talk of user dot objects dot create. We have create user model, and then we will proceed and create that user. So we will create, we'll have the username is equals to username, then we have first name is equals to first name, right? Then the other thing which we have is email is equals to email, and finally we have password equals password. So again, so here you can either have password or password 2, because you already confirmed that they are the same. All right, so with this you have already created that user. right? So we may need to maybe to pass in some information to this user, right? Pass in some information and tell them that user created, all right, and return. So in this case we will redirect this user to the login page. Return redirect login. So this login is the name of this view here, all right? So let me see where to import redirect from. Okay, it's from Django shortcuts. That's good. So sometimes you may not need to remember where it's you are importing it from, but should you remember this, at least it becomes easy for you to use it. All right, so here we tried to check if the password is equals to password 2. So if it's not correct, what happens? So we should be able to return something here, all right? And let me see. So we can password mismatch, something like that. All right, so I think we are good to go. Let's give it a try and see how this one works. All right, so let us see. All right, so let me reload here. Okay, this one should be user email should be user@gmail.com. Let me just use a very simple password for now. We are not checking on that. All right, wow. All right, so we have the user created here. So what if we come here to try and check if we have this user? So we have a new user here that we have just created, and we see staff status is set to false, so they are not able to log in to using the admin page. All right, so we are now in the login form. Then we proceed and see how to log in that particular user. All right, so we already have a form in place for the login. Where is it login? All right, so we already have a form in place, and again we are working with post method, prefer it in lowercase, and because this form is to be processed by the same view that rendered that page, we can omit the action. Then for the user, we are going to be working with username, which is already set in here, and the name is the username, don't forget that. Then for the password, in here we are just correcting one password. And there are also these attributes that we also not need to forget, so that to prevent users from just clicking submit with empty data. All right, and of course the submit button. We also have these this block here that will take care of errors or messages. Again, this is that block that gives us an option to display our messages here. All right, so we will be processing information from this form, and if it's correct, then we authenticate that user. Otherwise, we tell them that the login details are incorrect. All right, so let's do that. So the first thing is to you need to have a conversation with yourself. Okay, so for you to authenticate a user, you want them to log into a system they are not logged in already. So no, it's either somebody else is authenticated or they themselves are not authenticated. But let us for now make it simple. Let's not check that for now. All right, okay, welcome. All right, so what we need to check here is that let us first of all check about if it's a post method. So I think we have done this over and over again, so it should now be clear to everyone. All right, so we check is that request method is a post. So in here we are going to have the username. So how about if I just copy and paste, because we have already dealt with these things. All right, and if you noted, we tested something here. We used yes, Moses, please mute. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so I wanted to mention that at least we tried out something here with the email, and we saw that this one can also work. All right, so should you come across something like this, then it works the same as what we have been working on. All right, so let me make that uniform. No harm. Right, so in here, just let me just copy and paste. Again, I'll copy and paste the password. All right, so once we get that, we need to try and use the details provided to authenticate the user. All right, and the way to do that, we are going to talk of let us set up that user there, and we'll talk of auth.authenticate. Then we pass in the username, right? The username is equals to username. Then we have password is equals to password. All right, I think somebody is not muted. Moses, okay, all right, no worries. So all right, let's proceed. So we are going to try and use whatever the user has provided to try and fetch that user. All right, so if they exist, then this user will return an object. So let's see. So we are going to check if user. So in this case, we want to check if this user has something. So basically what we need to check is if user is not none. So this is how to do that check. So if user is not none, then what we will do auth.login, then we pass in a request here, and the user who needs to be dialed in, or rather to be logged in, right? Then once we log them in, we can happily redirect them to any other page. So we can have return redirect, and we will redirect them to the home page. So this could not be correct. If at all the logging details passed in here are not correct, then we need to do what? We need to return a message, right? So let me see a message that we returned here. Let me just copy and paste what we have. Allow me to copy and paste, right? So if user is not none, do that. Then if user is none, this is what we need to do. So so in here we need to talk of invalid login details or credentials. All right, then we return the login.html page. All right, I think that should be sufficient for now. Let us do a test on that. Reload. This should be, I think we created user. Then in here we have password, a very simple one, login. All right, and we are taken to the home page. So if I come here and try to reload this, then you see that the previously logged in user has been they have been logged out, and we are now logged in with a new user. So we want to at least have some two buttons here as we wind up for this session. So let's have some two buttons here giving us the login and the register. So we are going to navigate to base.html, So this we have joiners. Let us check on join. Is it joiners or joiner? All right. So in here, let me have that. So this is let's have login. Then again, let's have register here. Let me save, come back here, reload. All right, we have that. Again, we do not want to show a user who is already logged in a button to log in, so we need to control that. Okay, so we need for us to be able to do that, we need to check if the user is authenticated. So the way to do that, we have an if else check here. So we want to check if user dot is authenticated. I think that's it. I'm hoping that's correct. So if user is authenticated, I believe they should see okay, let me just have cut it from here, cross here. So basically, if a user is authenticated, then they should have a logout button, I think. All right, so let me just copy and paste what we have here. So if a user is authenticated, let us show them the logout button. Logout. Else, let's show them this. So let us see. All right, so we are already logged in. That's why we are seeing the logout button. So in here, we can access some of the user information. The fact that we haven't fetched this user from the DB, this user object is available on the template for use. So you do not need to have, like we have been doing, fetching the custom data that we had entered in our DB. So for the user is available for use. All right, so the next thing that we need to check, so let me show you. Hi. So there are quite a number of there is some information for this user that you can check. One of them is the user dot first name, right? You save that, reload. So that's the first name. You can also check the username. All right, and this is, we are doing it dynamically. All right, you have that as the username. Then again, we can have the email. Save that, reload. Right, you're able to see that. So if you at all needed all the information for this user, you can get it using this user object that we have here. And remember, these user that we are using here, they are not related to this user that we assigned here. All right, even if we assigned a different name here, this should still work. All right, so let's set these to username. All right, and we want to enable them to be able to log out. So in here we have to pass in a URL and have logout. For now, what we did, we only did a pass on that view. So what we need to do here, we need to have auth dot logout. All right, then we pass in the request to logout request. Then once that happens, we can return and redirect them to the home page. All right, so you can do that or pass in index, no harm. All right, so let's see. Okay, something is missing, logout. So let me see the URLs. Okay, so it's not activated, so let me remove that comment. So save, then let's reload here. So it's okay, we log out. All right, so see, once we log out, because we are not log out, we added a block of code that is supposed to show us the login and the log out, or rather the login and the register buttons. That is if we are not logged in. So in here we can pass in those URLs. that is login, and also the URL to register. Right, register. So far so good, we're making some good progress. So something else that we need to appreciate. Let me duplicate this for now. Okay, so what I want to do, let me log in here. Let me log in using user, enter password. Okay, let me enter a wrong password. All right, okay, that works. Let me enter anything else. All right, we see it's working. So let me now work with correct login details. Log in there, we are logged in. Then if I come here and also try to log in, let me see what happens. All right, so we see that even if we are logged in and still access this URL, we still get a chance to log in. So I think we can control that. It's not necessary, but it still makes some sense. Maybe you do not want to, if at all the user is already logged in, then you could redirect them to the home page if at all they try to access this page. So that is something you can control. Let me just show you. So it's for you to weigh the options and see if it will be necessary to add on your application. So let's come to login here, and so we want to check that is if so this should only happen if at all the user is not authenticated. All right, so let's do this. So if so the way to check if a user is authenticated, so we have if user dot, or rather if, so in here we do have request dot user dot is, then you have underscore authenticated. So this is the way to check if a user is authenticated. But again, we want this to happen if a user is not authenticated. So to negate that, okay, sorry, to negate that, okay, what did I do? All right, no worries. So to negate that, we have, so we need to check if not request.user is authenticated. So these statements, or rather the statement that that we have here is that this block will only happen if this user is not authenticated. All right, and if the user is authenticated, what should happen? We can return and redirect them to the home page. All right, so let us just try with this page. Perfect. So you see, you're not able to access the login page. Login, sorry, I used something different. All right, okay, I thought you should know. Then again, we can try to do what? We can try to ensure that only authenticated users are able to access certain resources. All right, so think of maybe courses. Let's do something on the courses. So we only want authenticated users to be able to access courses. So we have something we call what do we call it? Let me try to remember that name. I think should be decorator, Django decorator, Django. All right, okay, so let's see. Let me see this. Login required something. Okay, decorator. Do you have decorator here already? Okay, not yet. Okay. Okay, all right, so this is what I'm looking for. All right, so we want to ensure only authenticated users are able to access courses, the courses page. So all we need to do is that we need to come in here, import this. All right, then and just above the view, the courses view, we need to pass in at login required. all right, the one that we just imported here. So by default, and this is why I mentioned that there is a slightly different way of working with this. So let us just try and see how that goes. Save that. So if you come here and reload, okay, I think we are logged in, so we can log out here. All right, then go back to courses. So you can see the URL that we are trying to use. So that is for the default authentication mechanism, which maybe I just give you an assignment to check through it and see how different it is from what we are covering. So now that it tries to access this, we can take this further by defining the URL that we have used for logging in. And this is how to do it. So we have login URL, then input your login URL in there. So let's try that and see if it works on our favor or otherwise. Right, so our page is working. Let's try to access courses. Right, so we see we are redirected to courses, or rather to the login page. So what this URL ensures is that if you try to log in here, or rather once you log in, you should be redirected to next, which happens to be the courses view or the courses page. All right, so let's see if that happens. So we have user, we have that password. All right, okay, so you see what happened is that we were taken back to the home page. Then if we come back to courses, then we can now view the courses. But then that is not the user experience that we want to have. We want to have like when we visit courses, this URL should be honored. All right, so let's see how to make sure that this URL works. That is, when we log in, we are not redirected to the home page, but we are redirected to whatever we have here. All right, so this is where we do our thing. So we will navigate to the login. This is where we have the login here, and once we authenticate the user here, all right, this is where we need to do something. So we need to get something, right? And I think we have already done it, but in a slightly different area. So let's see. So we want to check if request dot get. All right, so what are we getting? We are getting next. I hope you recall that. If next is not there, then we just pass in none. All right, so if we get something out of it, all right, then we need to return something here we call HTTP response redirect. We haven't, I think, imported this. So where we want to be taken is we have a request dot get, then next. We pass in next there. All right, so we need to import this from HTTP. Okay, all right, so we have this. So what else do we need to do? All right, I think that's enough. That is, if request.response has this next object here, then we should be taken to that page. So let's see if we improve that user experience. All right, so let me go back, reload, come back here, try to access courses, then try to do that user password. So we expect to be taken to courses, and let me see. Okay, all right, something is missing. Line 74. What is in line 74? Let me see. Okay, if request that user is okay. All right, so this is where we need to inject. Let me try to inject that to see if we get it right. Okay, so let's reload. All right, so let me reload there, try to access courses, user, password and login. All right, so I think we needed to have this. We need to have what we have here, request.get get with a small letter, the one that we just introduced here. All right, so with that we see we have been redirected to the page that we wanted to access. All right, so at least for now we are able to log in, we are able to log out, register, and restrict some resources to only authenticated users. So again, authentication is another big topic, but what we are just doing is introducing you to this topic, and I believe with the introduction you'll be able to handle other tasks that revolve around authentication. So we will not stop here, we will take it further. Maybe in the coming session we will now see how we can fetch more information